in religious propagating or religious activities, or they should not encourage religious activities in any educational institutions. So if you want to do any religious activities, you can do out of the institution. So according to the Article 28, any government school or college or university should ban these religious activities within their institutions. So if you want to do it, if you want to do any religious activities like any activity like Ganesh Nimarjan or something, any religious activities, you have to do outside the campus, outside the educational institutions. So according to the article says that the religious instructions or religious activities completely banned in every educational institutions, those who are getting financial aid from the government. So this is the right to religions. And we have one more right, that is cultural and educational rights. So according to this act, according to this right, we have mentioned about these rights under Article 29 and under Article 30. So here, according to the Constitution of India, we are having different types of religions, different types of languages, we have different types of traditions. So according our Constitution of India, we are maintaining that principle is unity in diversity. In the reality, that means we we are having different languages, different regions, different religions, or different traditions, but we are maintaining this principle on the name of national identity or unity in diversity. So for this, it is necessary to protect the interest of minorities and interest of any individual, those who are living in the nation. So cultural educational rights means according to the constitution, under this right, we have Article 29. According to the Article 29, the Indian citizens shall have the right to develop their language, their culture, and their script. So those who are belong to any tribe or any region or any other groups, they have right to develop their language, their culture, and their scripts also. Means they can promote their language, they can promote their culture, and they can protect their culture, they can spread their culture, and they can protect their scripts. So according to Article 29. According to Article 30, all the minorities shall have right to establish and maintain educational institutions of their choice to develop their script, language, religion, etc. So they may have their own governing bodies. If you see, we have many educational institutions are established since before independence. British has started many educational institutions in the name of Christianity, and also many religious organizations also started their uh, trusts or organizations or educational institutions of their own religions. So here Article 30 says that all the minorities shall have the right to establish and maintain educational institutions of their choice to develop their script, language, religions. So here not only majority religions, not only majority people, the minorities also, those who are living in less number of population, they are also having right to maintain these educational institutions of their choice. So here, according to the Constitution of India, they are entitled to have the right to admit the students to their institutions. So here, the state, while providing grants to educational institutions, shall not discriminate against the any educational institution on the grounds of this activity. So that it is under the management of a minority, whether they are maintaining their institutions in the name of religion, or in the name of language, or in the name of their own scripts. So the government has to provide these opportunities to the minorities. So this is the cultural and educational rights. We have one more important right, that is right to constitutional remedies. So Article 32 says that the right to constitutional remedies means this is the important fundamental rights that is placed under the part 3 of the constitution. So according to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar says that the Article 32 or this right to constitutional remedies is the heart of the constitution. So there is no meaning if there is no this fundamental right. So the father of the constitutions also provided this right, namely right to constitutional remedies by Article 32. So according to Article 32, we have 5 types of writs are there. If someone violated our fundamental rights, or some governments neglecting to implement these fundamental rights, we can approach the court of law. So according to the Article 32, we have 5 writs, that is habeas corpus, mandamus, certiorari, prohibition, and quo warranto. So these rights are the important for the protection of fundamental rights. So as per our initial stages of our implementation of the constitution, we have 7 fundamental rights. That is, 7th one is right to property. Under 44th Constitutional Amendment Act placed in 1978, removed this right to property from this fundamental rights list and placed as a legal right under Article 300 subclass A. So according to this right to property, everyone who are living in the country are having freedom to acquire property according to the law. So according to law, you can earn or you can earn property or money, etc. But you have to pay certain taxes which is imposed by the government. So this is the topic of fundamental rights. We have one more concept, that is fundamental duties. So here we have fundamental duties that is borrowed from the Soviet Russia before the implementation of the constitution or after the implementation of the constitutions. There are no fundamental duties in original constitution. Later on, we have added these fundamental duties in 1976 under the part 4 subclass A. Part 4 Article 51 subclass A. We have placed 10 fundamental duties in the list. So later in 2002, we have added one more fundamental under the list of these fundamental duties. So Article 51 subclass A says that there are several fundamental duties are there. As of now, we are having 11 fundamental duties. If we see, these fundamental rights are not guaranteed by the constitutions. As of these fundamental rights are guaranteed, and fundamental duties are not guaranteed by the constitution. So basically, these fundamental duties have to encourage the people, encourage the citizens to maintain the basic principles of our Constitution of India. So according to the Constitution of India, we are having 11 fundamental duties in our list. So these are, number 1 is to abide the Constitution, respect its ideals and institutions, the national flag and national anthem. So those who are living in the country, those who are living in India, they have to respect ideals of our constitution and ideals of our government, and also we have to respect our national flag and the national anthem. So we we have to maintain this uh, uh, basic uh, fundamental duties. So, and second one is to cherish and follow the noble ideals which inspired our national struggle for freedom. So that means we have many goals and achievements from the national movement for the freedom of our India. We are having many ideal goals from the our national movement leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru or Mahatma Gandhi ji, etc. They have maintained, they have introduced many ideal values to fight against the colonial rulers at their time. So we have to respect them in the name of to follow their noble ideals. So, and third one is to uphold the protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. We have to follow these fundamental duties according to the Constitution of India. So we have one more fundamental duty, that is to defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so. If there is any emergency or if there is need of uh, our our work or our need, we have to participate in the national integrity issue or any national emergency time. We have to support our nation. So, in the name of these fundamental duties, so and also we have to promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India. So, transcending religious, linguistic, regional, and sectional diversities to renounce the practice derogatory to the dignity of women also. So, here we have to observe that we have to maintain brotherhood in the living nature. So we have to respect each other. We have to respect women also. We have to maintain this brotherhood because we have many religions, we have many languages, we have many cultures, but we are maintaining the principle that is unity in diversity. In the name of unity in diversity, we have to respect each other. We have to respect women also. We have to respect elders also. So according to the fundamental duties. So another one is to value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. So as we discussed, in the name of unity in diversity, we have to respect our cultures. If that culture belongs to any major group or minority group, but we should not discriminate any minorities. We should not discriminate any less number of people belongs to any particular religion or particular culture or particular language, but we have to respect every culture, every language, every religion. So, as of our fundamental duties, we have to respect every heritage culture. So, and also we are having one more fundamental duty, that is to protect and improve the national environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, and wildlife, and have compassion for living creatures. So, we have to protect our forests, we have to protect our lakes, we have to protect our rivers and wildlife in the name of these fundamental duties, and also to develop scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform. We have to promote scientific values between the citizens. We have to avoid uh, those cultures like black magic, etc. We have to promote scientific values among the citizens in the spirit of inquiry and reforms. We have to adopt modern values. We have to adopt modern principles. So we have to promote humanism in the people. So, and also to safeguard public property and to adjure violence, we have to protect our public institutions or government offices in the name of these fundamental duties, and we should not encourage violence in nature or in the practice of any activity in the name of their protection or protest or any activity with the governments. We have to protect our public property, which means our public offices, our public educational institutions, our employment institutions. We have to protect them, and we should not encourage any violent method. We have to follow non-violent method. We have to maintain non-violence in this protests or dharnas or rasta rokos. So to strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity, so that the nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievements. And also we are having last fundamental duty, that is whoever is a parent or guardian should provide opportunities for education to his or her child, or as the case may be, ward between the age of 6 to 14 years. So according to these fundamental duty, every parent should provide minimum education under the age of 6 to 14 years. The child should be in the educational institution only, in the school only. So according to this Right to Education Act, which is placed under this fundamental duty from the 2002 onwards, the government imposing this Right to Education Act, that the child, those who belongs to the age between the 6 year to 14 years, they have to stay in the school only. They should not encourage to work between this age. So these like directive principles or fundamental duties are not justiciable in nature, but we have constitutional guarantees for the fundamental rights only. So rights are essential for individuals to lead a dignified life, but here these fundamental duties or fundamental rights are the directive principles of the state policy, also important for the better livelihood of the citizens who are living in the country. So according to the Constitution of India, we are having directive principles of state policy also. These directive principles of state policy of Part 4 of the Constitution are borrowed from the Ireland Constitution, and we have motivated from the many revolutions like French Revolution, American Independence Movement, or Russian revolutions in 1917, and we have motivated from our Indian national movement also, and we have placed these fundamental directive principles of the state policy under the Part 4 from the Article 36 to 51. So if we discuss about the characteristics of the directive principles of state policy, as like fundamental rights, these directive principles of state policy is different from the fundamental rights. So as of the fundamental rights are guaranteed and protected by the Constitution, but directive principles of state policy is not guaranteed by the Constitution of India. So in nature, these directive principles of state policy are non-justiciable. So it implies that they are not legally enforceable by the court of law. And also these principles laid down by the Constitution. So in the Part 4, from Article 36 to 51, these directive principles are mentioned in our Constitution from the implementation period. And also these directive principles are having positive directions. They are not negative in nature. They direct the state to formulate policies and enact laws. They widen the activities of the government. So according to the Constitution of India, in any stages of government, in state government or central government, they have to maintain these directive principles of state policy in the implementation of their policy making or policy implementation. So both at any level, any stages of government should follow these directive principles of state policy. And also these directive principles of the state policy are not enforceable by any court. They are fundamental in the governance of the country. So they are not protected, they are not guaranteed. If governments are neglecting in the implementation of the policy, policies are in making or in implementation, if they are violating these directive principles of state policy, we cannot approach the court of law. In case of fundamental rights, we can approach the court of law. That's what for fundamental rights violation, we can approach Supreme Court under Article 32, and we can approach high courts under Article 226. So according to these articles, we are protected by the court of law. But here directive principles and also fundamental duties are different from fundamental rights. And also these directive principles of state policy aim for the general welfare of the people. So they may be implemented by any political party with any political ideology. So everyone can follow, everyone can impose these ideal values in their party agenda or party manifesto. So sometimes these fundamental rights are classified in the constitution in different method. The directive principles are mentioned in different. So however, on the basis of their content and direction, some authors have made certain classifications. In general, these directive principles are classified into three categories, namely number one is socialist principles, number two is Gandhian principles, and the number three is liberal intellectual principles. So realization of the ideals of the preamble of the Constitution, these directive principles direct the state to realize the ideals enshrined by in the preamble of the Constitution. They show a roadmap to the governments to reach these goals of social, economic, and political justice and ensure liberty, equality, and fraternity. So we have to understand these directive principles says that every government, these directive principles are roadmap for the governments at any level. Like we are having central government, we have state government, we are having at local level, local governments also. Here, these directive principles direct the governments to maintain these principles to in the providing goals of social, economic, political justice, and they should follow these principles: liberty, equality, fraternity. So these directive principles we can observe like a supplementary to the fundamental rights. Though the directive principles seem to differ from the fundamental rights in certain respects, they are in fact supplementary to the fundamental rights. So even if we compare to the fundamental rights with the directive principles, both are made for the benefit of the people. So there is no constitutional classification of these directive principles of state policy. In nature, we are classified into three categories, like liberal, socialist, and Gandhian principles. So if we discuss about socialist principles, according to 39th article, adequate means of livelihood for all citizens. So the government should provide better livelihood. They should provide minimum basic needs of food, shelter, health, and education, or drinking water, like that. The government is the guarantor of this livelihood to the all the citizens who are living in the country. And according to this same article, the government has the ownership and control of material resources of the community and their distribution for the common good. So the government has to maintain equal pay for equal work for men and women. There is no discrimination. So, according to the Constitution of India, these labor acts also made afterwards. According to the Constitution of India, the government should give equal opportunities in the providing of employment, and also they have to pay equal pay for the equal work for both men and women. There is no discrimination at in the name of this race. So the opportunity to children to develop in healthy manner, and also the government should maintain uh, the opportunity to children to develop in a healthy manner. As we discussed, the government has the main provider of basic livelihood. That means food and shelter and health and education have to provided by the governments only. So protection of adult and child labor, and also non-concentration of wealth and means of production to the common determinant. So according to 42 article, provision for just and human conditions of work and maternity relief. So according to the article 42, the government has to provide the basic needs of the um, women employment in the humanitarian backgrounds. The governments should provide the benefits of the women workers in the time of maternity, in the time of their time. They have to provide leave with pay. So there is no loss of pay at that time. So the government has to provide this facility to the women employees. So in case of both sectors, in case of government sector, in case of private sector also, the institutions has to provide this basic facility to the women employees. So, and also according to article 38, the government should eliminate of inequalities in status, facilities and opportunities, and promotion of welfare of the people. So here article 41 says that public assistance to the old and unemployed, the sick and physically disabled. So the government should assist these unemployed and sick and physically disabled. So in the name of this article, now present times, the governments are providing some benefits to these categories, like unemployment and sick and physically disabled. They are providing pensions to these categories. And also according to article 39 subclass A, provision for legal aid ensuring non-denial of justice for economic and other reasons. So these are the socialist principles. According to in the nature of these principles, we have mentioned in this category. And one more is Gandhian principles. Gandhian principles means these articles, these directive principles of state policy, which are related to the Gandhian ideology. So that's what we have divided and placed in this category. So these principles, like number one, article 40 says that organizing village panchayatis. So according to the Constitution of India, article 40 says organizing villages panchayats means we are having n number of villages in our country. So most of the population are living in the rural areas only. After the implementation of the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts, we are maintaining the local governments, and also we are provided constitutional status to the local body institutions. So according to this article, we are having village panchayats. So village panchayat means the primary government institution at the rural level. So at unit level, at ground level, the village panchayat is the agency for the implementation of government schemes and provider of the government schemes to the beneficiaries at the rural people. So, according to 43 article, promoting cottage industries on an individual or cooperative basis in the promotion of employment, in the promotion of income providing, the government should promote cottage industries on an individual or cooperative basis. Not only cottage industries, many other industries also, the government providing financial assistance to the individuals and or group of people. Like if we observe, we are having uh, corporations are there, like SC corporation, BC corporation, minority corporations. In the name of these article, in the name of the implementation of this article, they are providing loans to the individual. They are providing loans to the groups. They are providing financial assistance for the employment and better livelihood under this Article 46. And Article 47 says that prohibition of consumption of intoxicating drinks and drugs which are injurious to health. So, according to the Article 47, government should provide, the government should maintain this major principles in the implementation of the directive principles of state policy. The government should act as a act like main agency to the benefit of the welfare of the people. They have to maintain and to avoid these drinks like alcoholic drinks or drugs. They should ban. So that's what in nowadays governments are strictly acting against this supply of drugs and alcohol. So, and Article 48 says that organizing agriculture and animal husbandry on modern and scientific lines means the governments at any level, like in national level or state level or local level, they are the main supporter of the agriculture sector. So, and also they should encourage the people to maintain this agriculture and animal husbandry on modern and scientific lines. That's what the governments are promoting, any modern technology, modern techniques, and model like government is providing pesticides or hybrid seeds to the benefit of the farmers in the uh, agriculture sector. And also Article 48 says prohibiting the slaughter of cows and other cattle. So, in the name of these fundamental duties, these ideal goals are, according to the Gandhian ideology, we have mentioned in our Constitution of India. We have liberal and intellectual principles also there. So, in the name of this category, we are having some directive principles of state policy as to be regarded as piece of code suggested by men of liberal intellectual approach. So, like Article 50 says that taking steps to separate the judiciary from the executive. So, in the name of this principle, the judiciary has been become as an independent organ, an independent institutions according to the Constitution of India. So, Article 50 says that the judiciary separated from the executive. Like if governments may in the process of making laws or in the process of implementation of public policies, if they are violating constitutional goals or if they are making according to the constitution, they have right to review the public policy according to the judicial review. The independent judiciary has the special authority to observe, to monitor the public policies which are made by the governments. So that's what for the protection and proper implementation of the Constitution of India, the judiciary system has become an independent institution. So, according to 49th article, protecting, preserving, and maintaining places of national, cultural, and historical importance. So, that's what the government of India maintaining historical places and historical monuments or historical statues or forests or any places, they are preserving, they are protecting from the uh, damage condition. So, according to 44th article, securing for all citizens as a uniform civil code throughout the country. So, according to article 44, there is only common civil code to the all the citizens who are living in the country. So, there is no special law for any individual. There is no special law for the special people, or there is no discrimination. As Article 14 says, all are the equal. All are the equal before the law. So according to that article, we are having a uniform civil code also there. So according to the article 44th, securing for all citizens with this uniform civil code throughout the India. So, and also according to article 45, providing free and compulsory education to the children below the age of 14 years. As we discussed in the fundamental duties, at the age of 6 years to 14 years, the child should be in the school, not in the working place. So Article 45 says same thing. At this stage, up to 14 years, the government should provide free and compulsory education to the all the children who are living in the India. So, and also Article 48 says safeguarding the forests and wildlife of the country. So that's what promoting the protection of the forest and protection of the wildlife. The governments are encouraging the people to protect the forests. And also we are having an important article, that is 50. Article 50 says that promotion of international peace and security. So as of our Constitution of India, and also we are one of the founding member of the United Nations organizations for the promotion of international peace and security. That's what we have borrowed this international peace and security principle and placed under the Constitution of India. So we are supporter, we are the one of the main supporter of this promotion of international peace and security. And we have one more directive principles of state policy, that is under Article 51, maintaining just and honorable relations among nations. So according to the these fundamental principles, means directive principle means we are having bilateral or multilateral relationship with other nations. So according to the cooperative relations, in the name of international relations, we are having just and honorable relations among nations. So we are having in the name of political, economic, social relations, in the name of commerce and science and technology, we are having imports and exports with the other nations. So these directive principles of state policy is the one of the important principles for the maintenance of these ideal goals which are placed under the Constitution of India. So if we differentiate these fundamental rights and fundamental duties, both are the both are mentioned in the Constitution, but there is small difference, that is fundamental rights are justiciable and directive principles of state policy are not justiciable by the Constitution of India or the court of law. But the central government faced many problems with certain cases like Golaknath case, Keshavananda Bharati case in 1973, with brought out the theory of basic structure. So the court at that time, the court gave green signal to Parliament to amend any part of the Constitution without affecting the basic structure of the Constitution. So according to this, the Parliament had become more or less absolutely free to secure social order for the promotion of welfare of the people as directed in the Article 38. In fact, the courts have been supporting the directive principle since the commencement of the Constitution in many cases, and many times it has exercised judicial activism through which it directed to the state to implement the directive principles. So this implies that there has been a radical change in the attitude of the courts towards these directive principles of state policy after its judgment in Keshavananda Bharati case in 1973. So, in case we are in case in the implementation of the many public policies like implementation of land reforms, the governments are providing minimum land to the people. So that's what many reforms has made by the government of India, like abolition of intermediaries like jamindaris, jagirdars, and also imposing of ceiling on land holdings, distribution of surplus land among the landless laborers, cooperative framing, etc. cases. The governments are changed and followed these directive principles of state policy. And also, in the name of this implementation of these directive principles of state policy, we have adopted planning commission system and established in 1950. The main objective of this commission was take up to the development in a planned manner and make efforts to secure socio-economic justice to reduce inequalities of income, status, and opportunities. Later, we have changed that planning commission into Niti Aayog, which came into force from the January 2015. So, and also the governments are providing free and compulsory education, and also the governments are implementing this self-government system for the empowerment of the at local level people's empowerment. So that's what we are amended our constitution with the 73rd and 74th amendment, and implementing from the 1993. We are having three-tier system in Panchayati Raj in rural areas, and also three-tier system in the urban areas with the three tiers of municipalities. So, and also the governments are providing empowerment of women and protection of the children. So that's what many public policies has made for the protection of women and protection of children. So like the state has enacted several laws for the protection and empowerment of women and children, like the Dowry Protection Prohibition Act, the Dowry Prohibition Act 1961, the Maternity Benefit Act 1961, the Criminal Law Amendment Act 1983, and the Right to Education Act in 2010, etc. deserve attention in this regard. And also, governments are maintaining the protection of the interests of the weaker sections of the society. So this objective has been we have discussed in Article 46 of Directive Principles that state has taken various steps to provide educational health facilities to the persons belong to the weaker sections of the society. It took initiative to amend the constitution to provide reservation of seats in the educational institutions belong to the SC, ST and backward classes, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and backward classes of our society. And also governments taken initiatives in the sectors of agriculture and animal husbandry. For this, the state has undertaken the establishment of agriculture universities, dairy research centers, fertilizer plants, cooperative milk plants, etc. The state has been providing necessary help to the farmers to increase their production. And also, the government has made many legal reforms too. The state has taken several legal reforms, like it's appointed law commission to monitor this. It has made provisions to provide free legal aid to the poor. Its effort led to the emergence of several devices like Right to Information Act, Public Interest Litigation. That is, we pronounced it with the short name PIL, and Lok Adalat, Human Rights Commission, etc. And also, the state provided labor laws too. Some of them like Minimum Wages Act 1948, Weekly Holidays Act 1942, BD and Cigarette Workers Act 1966, and one more important act, that is the Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986. So these several national laws and many more state level labor laws in India by the efforts of the state for the implementation of these directive principles of state policy. So further many steps has been taken by the governments in the policy enactment and implementation of the policies should maintain this basic directive principles of state policy. So like this include Community Development Program in 1952, MG Narega in 2005, Food and Work Program 2001, Pradhan Mantri Grama Sadak Yojana 2000, Jawahar Rozgar Yojana 1918, 9 Integrated Rural Development Program IRDP 1980, etc. In this way, the state has been making efforts to the best of its ability in setting both the humanitarian socialist percepts that aim for the social revolution. So the state has not made full efforts in the implementation of some important directives. But in this context, we may share many remarks, many criticism also there in the implementation of this directive principles of state policy. So, according to many intellectuals, criticized this implementation of directive principles of state policy. But here we may say that the state has many miles to go to fulfill the objectives set in these directive principles of state policy, which reflect the ideals of the preamble of our constitution. So we have discussed fundamental rights, fundamental duties, and directive principles of state policy. So these are different from the fundamental rights and duties, but at any level, the government is following in the implementation and in the making any public policy. The government should follow these directive principles of state policy. So, according to some critics, says these directive principles are based on like many we followed many revolutions and many ideologies from the other than India, such as Fabian socialism. In the contemporary times, the philosophy of Fabianism has lost much of its relevance. So, in the present times, we have adopted liberalization, privatization, and globalization. These principles appear to be less useful in this context. So, we are updating. We are updating with the modern times and modern cultures, but we are maintaining this implementation of these directive principles are fundamentally rights and fundamental duties. We are maintaining our constitutional goals and ideals made by the constitutional framers. So, in this regard, these directive principles as regarded as a supplementary to the fundamental rights. So both the fundamental rights and directive principles are an integral part of the Constitution. The spirit behind these, both the objectives are the same, and the objectives of both these fundamental rights and duties are mainly translate the philosophical ideals of the preamble of the Constitution. So both of them are complementary to the each other. So there is no particular difference between these principles. So I am concluding the session. Tomorrow we will meet at the same time from 10 to 11.
Sir, only next week మాత్రమే ఉన్నాయి సార్ క్లాసెస్ ఇంకా.